So I'm going to show you how to stem a flower with a stem cover. So the first thing you're going to need is your wire, your 18 gauge wire, and you're going to do just a dab of hot glue at the top, as you can see. After you get your hot glue, you're going to stem your wire right through. It's only going to go in about a 1/4 inch, a little twist and a little push, and then you're going to take your stem cover and push it right into the flower. Now, if this was greenery, I'm going to show you how to do that as well. I leave the bottom unglued for now, but later, when I decide what length to cut it, I may put a dab of hot glue down here just to seal it off so that everything stays nice. The stem covers themselves can be cut with scissors, but once there's a wire inside, you will need to use a wire cutter to cut them. With the stem inside, you can bend and shape them however you want. So let me show you how to stem some greenery next. So if we want to stem a piece of greenery with a stem cover, or sometimes I actually do this with more than one piece of greenery and put them together. A lot of times this is because I'm making a bouquet and I just want to cover these up. If it's already in the bouquet, you can actually just slide the stems on and over. In this case, I've got 2, but you could do sometimes 3. If they're really thin stems, maybe even 4. And slide them right on once you've already created your bouquet. And these will pretty much stay, because when you create your bouquet, you're going to take some tape and wrap it around all of that before you wrap it off anyway. So that tape is going to hold these on. You can go through with a tiny dab of hot glue once you've trimmed the wires. And you can do a tiny dab of hot glue there. So if I already have a bouquet all put together, I can take these stems and slide them on 2, 3, sometimes 4 wires, hold them up, and then once I've got a bunch, wrap around with some tape to hold those on. So this would be after you've already created your bouquet. But if you're doing it before, let's say you're making something really small and there's only going to be maybe 4 or 5 of these stem covers used, then you can do this before and you can create all of your pieces and put everything together and then kind of have it all where you want. Sometimes you can adjust your greenery however you see fit, and then you can put your bouquet together. And you'll just do a little wrap with your tape and then twine or ribbon around that. So just to recap, you can stem before if it's just a few. If you have a ton of items, like a full bouquet, it's going to be a lot of stem covers on every single individual thing, and that won't always be possible with your greenery depending on how you do it. So sometimes I find it better to create and then do these stem covers after and then wrap around as well. In that scenario, you do more than 1 wire when sliding on a stem cover, just like we did here. I have lots of room, as you can see, there's still movement. I have lots of room to still add probably 1 or 2 more of these stems into this cover to hide everything. Next up, I am going to show you how to use stem covers to cover your bouquet. So I have already shown you the technique where you slide them straight on. I have shown you the technique where you pre-stem them first. And so now I'm going to say, what do you do if you've got this little bouquet wrapped? And it really, like, this is a short bouquet, so there's just not a lot of room. If these stems were longer, I would have wrapped this less and just done a little bit of tape potentially up here, and then I could have still slid these on to multiple stems, and I could still do that now if I really wanted to. And I would trim these and then just keep going and adding, and then making sure I tape over this part here so that it holds it all on. But because this is like a littler bouquet, the handle's not too thick, I'm going to use my other favorite technique. So I'm going to gauge about how tall these need to be. Not an exact science, obviously. So I'm probably going to get about 3 out of these. And really what I do, in this case I could pre-cut them, but I'm going to show you because maybe it's just harder because you can't tell how long they need to be and you can't tell if you're really going to be able to cut it in half. So the other way to do it is just have your tape handy and have your stems handy. Now there's no wires in these, so you'll be able to just cut them with scissors. And so I'm going to start by putting one on exactly where I want it, right near the top, putting on a piece of tape, holding and adding, holding and adding as I go. Now I'm not going to add all of them at once. I'm just going to do a couple, and then actually I'm going to tape it down and around because I don't want to accidentally lose this. That would be the worst. And here I can already tell, like, sort of where do I need to cut. So I can see, okay, this is where my bouquet is. I'm going to give them a trim. And I'm going to use these same ones that I've already cut and go right back in and keep adding these on. So I can see where my last one left off. And I'm going to add my next one. This one's got a weird stem that I might trim later if it shows. It looks like it wants to sneak through. And you're just pushing them together as tight as you can get them. It's never going to be absolutely perfect. So I've done my 3. So I'm going to hold it down and go around. Again, I'm going to give it that little trim with those 3 right where my other ones were. And I'm going to add my next ones on. So you can see right now I've got these stems and I've got this side still to go. So I'm going to come in and again, kind of push it into place where I want it, tape hold, add my next one. You can still move these a little bit around, and you'll probably have a gap or 2, which I will show you how to fill in after. I'm going to need another one, so I'm going to come in. All right, so I just did 4. I'll tape, wrap. We'll cut, and then we'll see where our gaps are and if we want to add any other spots on. So I've got a pretty good wrap. Honestly, there's a little bit that's showing in here, and I probably have room to squeeze a couple more of these in, but since it's pretty tight, I'm actually going to do that other technique that I mentioned earlier, which is take some of these extra pieces and actually push them up in where I have little gaps and I can see that I might need them. So I'm just kind of going in, finding a few wires that these can go onto. In this case, it's actually a piece of greenery. Honestly, so this piece is being tricky and does not, it's a little thick. Since this is part of that plastic stem, I'm just trimming it, sliding it up. If it feels like it's going to hold on its own, cool. If it doesn't, you can add a tiny dab of hot glue in there, push it up into place, and hold it. If there's extra hot glue, you may need to just trim. Honestly, this one probably doesn't need a lot more, but I'll show you that one more time. So I've got a little gap right here. And so I could, again, take a little excess piece here. I've got a couple, there's a lot of stems here, so I'm going to see how many I can squeeze in. If you squeeze enough stems in, honestly, it doesn't need anything else. Yeah. So that was like 2 real thick stems from some greenery. It wasn't just a wire, and it held pretty nice on its own. So now we've done this, give it a good push. If you feel like something else needs a little more taping, you could. But now our handle's covered with the stem covers. And we're going to go in, and you could either now do a piece of ribbon around here, you could do some twine, you could wrap it however you would like. One trick I would say is that if you are going to do ribbon, you might see where this gap is. You may do some twine first around where the little like lip is to fill it in, and then do your ribbon so that it's nice and even.